Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sleuthing Eye-Opening Tales of the Past. You are listening to WKDW 97.5 FM, Real Community Radio. You're coming out of city of Northport, or actually Northport, from the Bishop West Real Estate Tower. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today, or when you do tune in, this will be up on Facebook and YouTube on both the KDW Radio Facebook page and on WKDW 97.5 FM YouTube page. You can always go back and watch this. Also, if you're a friend of mine, I'm under Marie LaBrosse on Facebook. You can go and look at it on my page. Today is again a special day because we're doing a timeline of the history of the city of Northport. And so far, we're up to 2010. This is show number 12. And I'm going to be bringing up my guest and co-host, and actually the person that knows this history, much of it firsthand, is my infamous friend and I would say colleague, but I never worked with you, right, Joan? I never worked with you at any
This is work. This is what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so wonderful to have you here and in person. And in case anybody does not know who Joan Morgan is, where do you live? You must not live in the city of Northport, or you live under a rock, because Joan Morgan,
That's where we live, under the rock.
has been in the area since 1972. She moved into the city of Northport. At that time, it was a city. And she's been instrumental in a lot of things that happened within the city. At the time, Joan, how many people lived in the city?
About 1,200.
1,200. So today there's about 80,000, and they're estimating over 250,000 between the next 5 to 10 years. So with that being said, and the year right now is 2021, we're currently recording and filming this in the year 2021. So let's continue. Joan, let's get our audience caught up what has happened from the beginning, even from the last part of the shows, and that so people can get a little tidbit of what we've been doing.
Okay. All right. Well, we've been basically doing, and again, and on every show, we urge everybody to help us. Okay. We've been putting together, my husband and I, the Northport dates, and basically what we've been doing is putting everything that we can find that is historical for Northport on this list, so it's not forgotten. And the thing is, hey, we don't know it all. All right. We know what we were involved with. We know what we saw going on in the city. And yeah, we were here for a lot of this growth and personally saw it. But on the other hand, there are so many people from so many facets of life and so many things that are not on this list that need to be. So every show we start off and we end with, give us your information. Call me 941-875-8996 and leave a message. Don't call and I'm going to think you're some solicitor. Okay, leave a message if I don't answer. Or EMJM, which is my husband's initials, Ed Morgan, or mine, JM, Joan Morgan, 67, the year we got married, at yahoo.com. So let us know and give us the information. There's so much that needs to be on here yet. As you know, a couple months ago, we lost Marshall Grove, who certainly did a lot of what we're doing, and that he wrote the book, and there's not that many copies left. So if you want the book of the first 50 years, a lot of it is in there with Thurgood, or with Marshall Grove, and what a great man. And we're so thankful that he did what he did. So here we are in 2010. We've done a lot. We've come a long way. And you know what? This is a bright time that we're going with. Really a bright time, because as you're going to see, we're going to add on a lot of things. We're becoming the land of prosperity. We're becoming the place to be. So it's going to be the next 10 years that we're going to be talking about, possibly today. Hopefully we get to more than 1 or 2 years today. Okay. First of all, I wanted to bring one thing, a little show and tell. And this here, if you can see, it says Zoomers YMCA, City of Northport. And this is one of the trophies we gave the kids that came to our summer fun series. Just wanted to show you that actually we all did work together for the good of the cause, for the good of the kids. And that summer series has been very popular. Of course, the summer series, like everything else, the last 17, 18 months, COVID has played havoc with. But anyway, want to start with 2010? We ready? You went silent on me.
Yeah,
There
no,
you
I
are.
was muted. Yes, absolutely. Let's start with 2010. And what happened before this? What led up to it? Because the city was formed in 1959 and we're now into 1970. And like I said previously, this is our 12th show. So if you want to hear any of the previous shows or that, you can go to our Facebook page, KDWRadio.com on Facebook, or some of them are on YouTube now, WKDW 97.5 FM. And I've been keeping them so we can have a library of these shows because you and I, Joan, know you being a former history teacher, how important it is to get it in the first person or the person that knows the knowledge firsthand. Correct?
Absolutely. And that's all we're trying to do. And it needs to be because, frankly, we haven't been that good at keeping our own history. And if we don't keep it alive, who would? And I'll tell you what, it's very interesting on stuff because after the fact, a lot of people kind of like insert themselves into the history and that. I mean, I've heard a lot of interesting stories about one on, and I'm going, well, that's interesting. Not the meeting I was at, but on the other hand, there is so much out there that we don't have, and we need it from everyone's point of view. It was so many people in so many professions, and that what the air conditioner professionals did and how they helped out and how they came aboard and how they did extra for the city and all of this kind of stuff. The firemen, oh my gosh, our volunteer fire department, how they were, dressed in their city clothes, and then the fire bell would go off and they'd go off to a fire and ruin their clothes, and certainly no one paid for them. There is so much. We were a city of people that did. 90% of the stuff that's on this list was not because you were paid to do it. It was all the volunteer work. 99% almost that's on this is people forming together and doing, and it wasn't paid jobs. We're not making a list of just those who got paid and those who performed a job that they got paid for. Most of this was because people cared, and they gave them themselves, and we still do. Oh my, just look at yesterday's paper and that, and everybody with the food banks and everything else that Northport does. And Kiwanis, oh my, all the stuff that they do. There are so many phenomenal groups out there that we should celebrate. And thank you so much, Marie, and thank you so much, WKDW, for putting this on and having it for people to hear, because oral history counts. And Marie certainly has always been pushing for other people to come and give the history, okay? It's not going to be the exact history that I have in that, because everyone saw it and we're in a different realm of it. And remember that a lot of people, as far as your working day, it did not happen in Northport. This was the where you might have had your home because it was cheaper here, but a lot of people worked outside the city for sure in those days, and even today. Go look at the traffic leaving Northport in the morning and coming back at night. We still have a lot of people that work outside the city, and with I-75, we can do that.
Yeah, and one of the things that I want to express to people too is Joan and Ed Morgan. Both of them were involved in a lot of things in the city of Northport. Joan's view is different than Ed's view of looking in. Every person has a different view of what they're looking at. Their lens, looking through the same exact event, may be different. What they're seeing, because Joan, you're a different person than Ed, and you pick up on different things than he does. And sometimes, like being a mother, you might notice things more so than even being a father or being a man or a woman or whoever you are out there. It just is a different perspective when people tell their own history. You might have been at the same event, but it affected you so differently. So we want to capture those things, and we like to do it in the first person voice. So you're welcome to always come on the show with us too. We're looking for guests, aren't we, Joan?
We sure are. And yeah, and Ed and I, we work together so well on these projects, and we always have. And a lot of times it was just us working on them, and that's fine, okay? But on the other hand, yeah, we've always had, we're two different people. I'm the history, I'm a talker, blah blah blah. Ed is quieter, but boy is he funny. Okay, and he's the mathematician. He sees things in a different perspective. Mathematicians see things differently, and he's the runner. And so to him, at the top of all lists for the city would be what races were there, what runs were there. So, it is a different perspective entirely. And that's good. I mean, that's what keeps it fresh and alive, because, that's why we can do things so well. I do a lot of the little stuff and fill it in, and he sees the over picture differently. And oh, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. That's the way we do it, and it's good, because if not, boy, we'd be boring.
Absolutely. And we're starting in 2010 right now in this particular show. And the show will start 2010, and maybe we'll make it through a few years. Many of you people lived here during this time. If you've lived here about 10, 11 years, you've lived here, you've experienced things and seen different things go. Your voice means something too. I recently, I've lived in Charlotte County for 34 years. So, and I've been involved in a lot of things. And a person that just wrote the history of the last 100 years of the Charlotte County said to me, I had him a couple of times on my show beforehand and then after he wrote the book. I said, I didn't think my stories were important. And he said, that's because you're living them still. You're still living them. And you have to make sure that you remember a lot of the things that you know and have done have touched and made a difference in your community. So, and not everybody does, some people don't get involved in your community. That's okay. That is okay. So, Joan, I'm going to be quiet for now, and it's all yours.
Okay, well, we're starting off 2010, and what's a better way to start out with our first canine club? All right, we've got a dog park. Okay, everyone loves a dog, most people do, and that dog park has been very, very popular from day one. There are people pushing right now for a second dog park. Many people on the Park and Recreation Board, that's the only thing they want to talk about is a dog park, and everything else. And it's been wonderful for the canines and for the owners to have a place where they can go play, run around, and very happy with the city. And the one good thing about the dog park now is that some of the trees they planted there are really starting to grow. And that's good, because the one real complaint about it was the fact that, there wasn't enough shade. And boy, it can get hot. And so anyway, yes, the Canine Club is called. And that's right up on Appomattox, 6700 Appomattox. And, if you haven't been there with your dog, get there, because really your dog can make some new friends. All right. War Meadow Springs Park was purchased from Sarasota County in 2010. Okay. The history of War Meadow Parks. What happened was we purchased it with the county, okay, in 2010. And then there's going to be disputes and all this stuff. And then they're going to sell it, we're going to sell it, and all this stuff. And then it actually closed down for a while. And now it's back open with the city owning it. And we'll be talking about that later. Frankly, with a lot of things that I wish didn't happen with the city, this is one. I wish we were there with the county, because when it comes to putting in the sewer system and everything else, I'd rather that the county's paying half of it than all of us. I know we have to divide the profit, but you got to understand something. A lot of people in Northport, and truly our 80,000 people in Northport, has everybody been to War Meadow Springs? This is world renowned. This is the only thing that's world renowned. Okay, people come from all over Europe. And I think some people in Europe know it more than the people here because people believe in it. And let me tell you something, there's a new age coming because they're getting the permits ready right now to be finalized and all of this kind of stuff for us to start working on repairing Warm Mineral Springs, restoring it back to what it should be. And I want to tell you something, because a month ago I was at a meeting, the Horse Historic Board, with the people that are working on Warm Mineral Springs. And let me tell you something, I'm very pleased to report that they want to make it as historically correct as possible. They want to get the materials that will be good and fix it and make it better, because certainly it's in disrepair. We know that. Okay. The Cyclorama has been closed for a while now and everything else, but they want to restore it back to be historically as the same as possible. And one of the things they're going to do, okay, the sign when you get there and says Warm Mineral Springs on the top, guess what? That is staying. Okay. Because a lot of us, that's kind of like the iconic thing. When you go to Warm Mineral Springs, you want to see that sign up there. Okay. So there's going to be a lot of improvements. So those of you who haven't been to Warm Mineral Springs, get there. Oh, you can't get there right now. It got closed because of COVID. Okay. But it will be open back up again shortly. And improvements are coming. And this place, even with the disrepair, even with a lot of things that have happened with it, it continues to make money. Okay. People believe in Warm Mineral Springs. They come to Warm Mineral Springs. So anyway, the Warm Mineral Springs is something we will be talking about later on too. Another thing that happened in 2010, the Tour de Northport, the first Tour de Northport. And if you haven't been part of this, this is put on by People for Trees. You'll see all the bikes along the sides of the roads and the signs and all this stuff. And they have a 15, a 35, and a 65-mile bicycle track that people can go on. It is a fun day. There's not a winner. It's not a race. The first one comes in and all this kind of stuff. This is something you do because you like cycling, and cycling is a huge part. I mean, people down here, Coastal Cruisers and all those groups, I mean, hey, they are impressive. And what they do is impressive. And the Tour de Northport is put on by People for Trees. Obviously, the head name I can talk about there is Alice White. And this is long before she was on the commission. Alice White has done so much. And this has been one of her babies. And, you got to give her a lot of credit, because when this started in 2010, well, she was still a teacher. She was still a teacher for a good many years after that. She just retired 2.5 years ago from teaching. So to be able to put on all these programs for People in Trees and the Tour de Northport, you'll see it out there. Unfortunately, COVID did some damage to that too. But, hopefully we will be back out and it'll be great. Okay, 2011. Yeah, here comes the Morgan Center. Okay. What can I say?
Tell the story and do it in your own words.
Okay.
Jill.
Well, here's the way the story goes. And it's an overwhelming story. And you said before, my husband and I see things differently sometimes. Well, we had two different viewpoints on it. Well, not two different viewpoints, but our worries were different. It was very hard for us to handle. But anyway, here's how it came about. All right. Our name coming up for any kind of something being named for us started with Atwater Elementary. Okay. And there was, I think, 7 applications put in for us to be named, the Atwater Elementary be named for us. Okay. But that never happened. And Kirk Hutcherson, who was going to be and was the principal of that school for a long time, called me up and said, hey, this is what happened. And I'm going, whoa, 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 whoa. First of all, schools are not named after individuals in Sarasota County. Secondly, as I talked to Gene Matthews about it, he said, you had to be dead for 3 years for them to consider you. And I'm going, do not like that kind of thing. Okay. And, so we knew it wasn't going to happen. Okay. But I think that's maybe what started fueling whatever. I'm not sure about that, because, okay, that died because we knew as soon as that started that wasn't going to go anywhere, and that was fine. All right. So then there was, let me put it this way. Of a lot of the things I've been involved with in Northport, probably the total organization of what's now the Morgan Center was the one I was least involved with. it's true. Okay. I mean, we were involved years ago, wanted to get community centers and worked on it and all that kind of stuff. But I was not there. Ed was not there. We did not design any of the building. We did not sit there. I can remember being there when they did the groundbreaking. And actually, I sat next to the principals, Linda Daniels, that was principal of Cranberry Hill Elementary at the time, and the principal, Sally, from Lamarck Elementary. And the last thing on my mind, the very last thing on my mind was, hey, why don't you name this place after me? You know, it's going to be named after me. I'm going, you know, I was so happy that we're starting a community center. And I can remember going up to those in charge and saying, hey, why don't we make a dedication for the aquatic center at the same time? And let's get that moving and all this stuff. Well, anyway, what happened was that somewhere along the line, and I'm not exactly sure how, when, and where, I know some of the individuals involved in all this stuff, but basically, Ed and I weren't even on Facebook. We knew nothing about social media. In fact, we're still really behind, okay? Totally behind, all right? But anyway, we did have one thing planned, and this was in 2010, in October 2010, and that is what we were going to take our first trip to Europe. I mean, this was, hey, man, you know, we're retired. We're going to go on this trip to Europe. And we did. So we were out of the country when I think a lot of the maneuvering or whatever happened. And basically it got sent out on Facebook, social media, and all this kind of stuff. And a lot of people wrote in, and oh, so heartwarming, so wonderful, so magnificent. And it's like, so hard to almost handle, you know. It was like, what? And we got back, and you know, it was kind of like, by the time we got back, it was almost kind of like a done deal. It had been through the city staff recommended us for it, and then they were kind of saying that they're going to name something after us. And I remember Mike Trebrew coming up to me and saying, do you want a park, the pool, or the center? Okay. And I said to him, well, you know, pool trumps park, center trumps pool, because the pool, which we started trying to get in 1978, okay, I didn't know if that would ever come about. And I am so, so happy that it's the Northport Aquatic Center, because it is for all in Northport, and that's what it should be. And I'm so glad that our names were never involved, because I felt that from then on, people would think I'm working for the pool to get my name on it. And that was not the point at all. Okay. So anyway, Sherry Borsdorf came up to me at a meeting, and she says to me, Spring Haven, the road next to it, was kind of like the name they were putting on it. And her words were, I was told not to order the letters for Spring Haven. And I'm going, oh, you know, I mean, what are you telling me this for? You know, I'm not in the ordering thing. And then they said, what do you want it named? And Ed said he did not want to see his name on a building. He never wanted to see Ed Morgan on the building. And then actually they came back, and we were hearing from people, and we heard Morgan Family Community Center. And we said, you know what? That sounds better, because it's community center and family, and basically, you know, that's what we were all about. It went through, and it was like unbelievable. The rest of this building going up, the day that we went over there, and this was after a 5K race, we went over and showed some people from Sarasota that were race directors and came because they were thinking of a half marathon around there. And the name was on the building, and we go, oh my gosh, you don't realize how hard it is to take. I mean, oh my gosh, it was just like, this is unreal. We couldn't say the words. If we said it, we went into this silly little giggle. Okay. And then you had people coming up, and we're saying, we don't want people to whatever think, well, who do we think we are, and all this stuff. And then people were actually, well, can you get me a job there? No. You know, if I do anything at that building, I pay exactly what you do. Okay. Today I went to water aquatics, And I paid the same price as everybody else who was in that class. I mean, there is no such thing as we're getting this special deal. We did not pay 1 penny for the building. I have people, oh my gosh, I mean, people say, so nice of you to donate the $10 million for the building. I'm going, and I retired teachers. 10 million for a community center is a little bit out of our price range. But it really was, it's an overwhelming feeling. And it's kind of like, it's kind of past. I can say the words now.
Yeah. I would say it's humbling.
Oh gosh, humbling. Yeah, I mean, because you just sit there and you go, all these other people that have worked hard and all this kind of stuff. And you don't want people to sit there and say, well, who do you think you are? And all this stuff. And it's like, it wasn't that way, and it was like, oh yeah, you have to look inside yourself. It took a while. I mean, I will frankly tell you that I even wrote a letter that I didn't give to the committee, the city, saying thank you, but no thank you. It's too much, because it really was hard to take. And we just thought, how is this going to change our lives? How's this going to change our children and our grandchildren? Because we had 3 of our 5 grandchildren that were living in the city at the time, and they were in middle school and elementary school. And it's like, but I'm very proud of them because they have really never taken the opinion, oh, well, this is a building named after us. I mean, it was just kind of like it was the Morgan Center. And since their last name was Fisher, a lot of people that they were around might not have known. Our other 2 grandchildren, sons that live in Orlando, when they come down, though, they're funny. Oh my gosh, when they go in there, they want everyone to hail, they're here. I mean, this is not, but the other ones down here knows that, if they want to be liked, if they don't want to be bullied or anything else, I mean, you just kind of like let it pass, and they did. But Kobe and Jaden from Orlando, oh my gosh, so funny. So fun. No, don't you know who this is named after? Quiet. Quiet. Anyway, it's a beautiful building, and I'm so proud of the city for what the building does. As I say now, it kind of like rolls off your back saying it. It's kind of like disconnected, but and a lot of the people working there call it MFCC. That's what they just put the initials down. It's funny with some people, but that building has done so much, regardless of who it's named for. It's got the teen center, it's got game rooms, it's got craft rooms, it's got more meeting rooms for people, a full workout area, which is phenomenal. I mean, it really is. People are there from 5:30 in the morning on. I mean, that is a great workout area, 33,000 square feet. And it's located in a great place because right next door to it is the middle school. Right across the way from it is the high school. And so these kids swarm in there after school. And it's a place for them to go. We got a playground area outside. It's got basketball outside, inside. They've got such great programs. If you get the brochures and see the programs I've put on there, Parkinson, for people with Parkinson's, boxing classes, okay? Paint a rock and have it around all places and finding out whatever. They bring the teens in to ask them what they want. And the people that work there, God bless you all. They are absolutely, in the 10 years it's been open, I have not met one person that's working in there that I would say they've got a bad attitude. They have hired people that really care. They know most of the kids' names. Have we had kids not doing the right thing and problems? Sure. Unfortunately, hey, that's the name of the game. But on the other hand, a lot of them do respect it. It's beautifully kept inside. If you set up a meeting or anything else, the staff is so good about getting it set up, and it's cleaned up in like 5 seconds after. The elections are held there. I mean, all sorts of things, weddings, all sorts of meetings about War Middle Springs, meetings about a lot of things. So I'm very, very proud of the center, very, very proud of everyone. Vanessa Carasone was a big one in the middle of that too. proud of everyone who wanted a community center, because that's putting money into youth, which is showing a complete contrast between that and what life used to be like in Northport when the division was young and old, and a lot of the senior citizens, not a lot, but unfortunately those in power wanted to keep it as a senior area. So to acknowledge the youth, okay? But I want to say this building is not just for youth. Jazzercise in there, yoga's in there, all sorts of programs for senior citizens as well as young people. So it's not just for youth, but it is giving a place for so many youth to go. The basketball, indoor soccer, all sorts of stuff. We had the run series for kids outside it for a few years. You name it, any program that the kids kind of want to get going, okay, if it's feasible, they do it. They really do. So I'm very, very honored, very proud, very humbled, you know. But now it's kind of like, it's so funny, because one of the biggest problems is that because I'm a clerk for the elections and have been for a long time at the Morgan Center, and you get the confusion between the Morgan and the Mullen Center. Okay, that day, and everyone's saying, "Well, why'd they name them all the same? Why did they, whatever?" Sorry, But anyway, that's the way it goes. God bless everybody who was there and wrote such beautiful letters. I don't even know who they were talking about. Could have been us, but really, it really was great, and it's great for the city of Northport. So, really, really proud and happy. Okay, moving on. Fire station number 84 on Citizens Parkway, which is interesting because we don't own Citizens Parkway. All right, that is not a city street, but maybe it is now. But anyway, Captain Earl Conrad is who they named it after. I had the privilege of knowing him and his family. What a great man. You can't say enough about his care, his concern, his integrity. He was truly involved with that fire department and truly cared about the Northport pushing, promoting, making it more efficient, the fire department. So I was very glad to see that happen. Most of the dedications and everything that we've had in our city, they've been great, and really honored to see it all. I hope, like with all of this history, the reason for the name behind the building, I hope it never dies. The Morgan Center is in Bill Butler's park. We honor Bill Butler. We knew Bill Butler. Bill Butler cared about kids in the time when you're not supposed to say you care about kids in Northport. He was a mayor. He was a great person. And so happy that the park area around there is named after him. Also part of that area is Ziggy Pertamerson soccer field in the front. Okay, there's a stone there saying that. I think there should be a lot more someday. But Ziggy, as we've talked about before in this timeline, he was all for soccer and did so much for the kids. We tie-dyed shirts in our washing machine so we could have different colors, T-shirts for the different teams, because that's all we had. He picked up people in his pickup truck and, took them to soccer. Couldn't do that today. A lot of things we could do then that you can't do today. But yeah, it was a great guy, and that's a great field. And moving on, Paddlepalooza. Probably most.
Go back to the fire station, because
Sure.
it was a $2.1 million, and it was a sales tax that paid for
Yep,
it.
sure was.
Or I just wanted the 1 cent sales tax sellers, just wanted to make sure that gets into the history.
Hey, I want to make sure it gets in the history, because we're having a meeting. One of the first meetings is going to be, because that surtax, it's not a new tax that they're trying to promote coming up. It's a continuation, so we can have such projects as that. And one of the first meetings is going to be over at the Old World Restaurant at 11:30 on Wednesday, September 8th. Okay. And there's going to be one at Shannon's Staub Library, and that's going to be on September 13th. Okay, at 6 o'clock. There's going to be one at the Hampton Inn, our new Hampton Inn. There's going to be one meeting at City Hall, and then there's going to be one at Welland Park. So yes, thank you so much, Marie. We need to promote the sales tax, and people need to understand it's not an additional tax. You're not going to be paying. It's a continuation. Just like the school board taxes, you have to get them renewed. You have to do the continuation. And this is very, very important. And let me get you something here.
And you end up picking projects that sales tax is going for. Just so
yes, I'm looking. Of course, here it is. Here's the little pin that a lot of people are going to be wearing for the sales tax committee, and it's got a penny on it. Okay, and let me tell you something. This penny sales tax, which has been around for a while, and we hope continues, that has been the source for so many great projects. Okay, a fire station is one, and there's more fire stations that are going to be needed. And one of the good things about this surtax is that these committee meetings that we're having, and that is for people to put in their ideas, not only how do we promote it and get it passed again to continue it, but also what projects you want to see happen. Okay, so we're yes, thank you very much. Okay, now on to Paddlepalooza, which probably most of you never heard about. It only happened one year. It was probably one of the most delightful committees I was ever on. Benderson, this is what Benderson Park, which we certainly all know, up by the University Mall, and paddleboard and all sorts of stuff that's going on there. But it was organized for rides and that down the Cocoa Plum, and it was put together on October 8th, 2011. It was so much fun. We had the dragon boats. We had all sorts of stuff, people out there. We had buses constantly circling around, bringing people there and to it. Not enough people came for all the effort, tell you the truth. But I was very impressed with the committee and everything that happened with it. It's the first time I got to meet Hugh Moore, okay, who certainly does a lot for our city, and his wife Jacqueline certainly do. And it's the first time I got to work with a lot of these people from Benderson and realize, folks, kind of like how small we are working with the big guys. For example, the Cocoa Plum, they wanted to get the chili peppers and that cleaned out on the sides, okay? And I can remember coming to a meeting and they said they'd like them cleared out because, you know, they're really hurting the view and everything that they want to do. And we sat there and said, oh, you're so silly. That'll take months and months and months. And that'll take, you know, put this off a couple years because that's what it is to get things done here. They were out in 2 weeks. They got it done. Yeah. Over and above everything. It took me 42 years to get a pool. It took them 2 weeks to get the chili peppers out. It goes to show you what strength, power, and money and knowing the right people. They got the Army Corps of Engineers in there and they were gone and made the place look a lot nicer. And that was down our Cocoa Plum by where the pool used to be, by the clothes closet, by where the art center is. And that's where the launching part of it was. And what a great affair that was. We were hoping it was going to be a yearly, but unfortunately that was the only one. Okay, also in that year, from 2011 to 2018, Kevin Baspia became chief of police. Kevin was around here for a long time and did a lot for Northport. And so most people would recognize that name and, you know, heard of a lot of the things that are happening. Remember, all along through here, okay, our first responders, a lot of their needs were not looked after. A lot of their needs were not realized in time. And the mental toll that being a first responder took on these, no one in 2011 was sitting there and saying, we need to look out for the mental health of our first responders. Okay, that's not what you went to bed at night thinking. Boy, what they've seen, what they've experienced, and what a toll it takes on them. Now we finally are, okay? Because unfortunately, suicide is one of the leading causes of deaths of first responders, and we know it now. But all of these years, all of these cities, all of these towns, all over the United States, all over the world, You never really looked at what first responders go and see. They must have seen some horrific sights that eventually just get to them. I mean, how can it not? Okay, City Center Pond was kind of reconfigured, so they have the helipad, a pad which is over by the library, not by the library, over by the post office and behind our fire department there, and in front of and across the street from the police department. Um, Not everything in Northport has gone perfectly the way it should. We actually had a group that wanted to get rid of our Bay flight. Thank God, all of you who were out there writing letters saying, don't you ever do that, how important it is. It saved my life. It saved my child's life. It's so important. More important than maybe a couple of people being woken up because of the sound of the helicopter. So I am very delighted to say it is still there. And if anything ever comes about to try to get rid of it, I beg you all to fight and move in on getting this thing saved here. Because here's the deal, folks. That is a miracle. That has saved lives. The chances are, and this is so important because here comes with the hospital, push for the hospital. What are they saying on all of this stuff? Heart attack, stroke, and everything else. The first hour is so vital. And if we're going to sit there and put somebody in an ambulance to drive them up to Tampa Memorial or Sarasota Memorial, you might as well call them dead. Okay. The Bay flight has saved lives, will continue to save lives, and we need it. And we desperately need it. And we need a second one and all. And it is used and it is important. And if you don't have it in your community, the amount of money it costs you or your insurance to get the Bay flight to you, to get you where you need to go, is just out of this world. Okay, so the fact that it's here, this is such an important thing, and I thank every single person who worked to get it here. Okay, Northport, next thing. Northport was named Playful City USA. All right, and we kept that for 8 years. I don't think that designation is around anymore, but we were the only one of the only ones to get it for that many years in a row. And people worked hard. Take everyone that's been in the recreation department, Tricia Wiesner right now, and others that were in that job before her, Sandy Funheller, and all the ones that were in there, Pat Calhoun once upon a time, years and years ago, some others that were in there, Carlos Perez and all. People have worked to make Northport a happy place. It doesn't come about by accident. People listen to other people. What kind of recreation do you want? What kind of recreation is important to you? So we do two things. We make people happy and we give them activity because, I don't care what you do, just do something. You got to get exercise. Okay. Sitting in a house is not going to do it. We all need to get out, especially today with COVID. Folks, get out in the fresh air. Vitamin D that you get from the sunshine is the biggest helper for COVID, one of the biggest helpers. So, get out there and get fresh air and do that. Okay. The Upper School of Imagine was opened for the 2011-2012 school year. The upper school is like the high school. To begin with, it was just an elementary school, and then the upper school joined in. So now we have complete grades kindergarten through 12th. Okay. Some other things that we have here going on. Let's see. All right. Vision in Progress, made up a group by the chamber, really working on concepts of development of War Middle Springs, or not War Middle Springs, but the Toledo Blade area, implementing plans on how to enhance that area. Before this time, really, the end of Northport was almost at Sumter, okay? And Toledo Blade was kind of like way down there. Once upon a time, certainly living here, price was way out. You thought that was the end of the earth. I've said that a bunch of times. Toledo Blade was also. But now, I mean, if you go down there and if you drive around, and the housing developments and everything that we have on the second side of Toledo Blade. We really needed to work to build up that area. We needed things for them. Right now, we need an activity center over there too. We really do. Okay. We have now more apartments being built there. And one of the things that was built there and opened up in 2011 was the Atwater Community Park, 25 acres. It's adjacent to Atwater Elementary School. And it's got a number of things. And I beg you, if you're there, go around the concession stand and look at the signs, because these were the pioneers. These were the people that made youth sports happen, Little League happen. Okay. And that park is dedicated to Carlos Perez. And Carlos was the supervisor of Northport Recreation for a few years when I was commissioner. He was the officer and umpire in the Northport area Little League, and starting that, he was a manager and head of Mighty Mites. Started a lot of programs. He did so very much. And Carlos is another example. Let me tell you something. If you looked at his timesheet, you would realize he was only paid for so many hours a week. He put in a lot more than that. He never got his comp hours out. Never. He put in the time because he cared. He cared about Northport, and that's the way it was. Mike Metrione, a hero of heroes. All right. Mike Metrione was a civic leader. He started J&M Air Conditioning and Heating. The M was for Metrione. He and his wife had Kay's Deli, which is up on Biscayne Plaza, kind of next to where the election office is now on Biscayne Plaza. Mike did a lot of things. He was president. He pushed. He was the umpire for the Babe Ruth leagues. And he pushed and pushed and pushed. And when he was told, no, we're not going to have this, we're not doing this for kids, blah, 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 blah. Okay, he kept on pushing. And that's for sure. Because of these guys that I'm talking about now, take them back a decade. They are the ones that truly got on Pan Am across from the Garden of the Five Senses. They're the ones that got those fields going too. It was an honor to work with them. We were, when we didn't have a refreshment stand or a place to store stuff, our garage was where we stored it, and we got it all out for the morning of the game. It was an act of love. And as I say, it was all volunteerism. No one got paid a penny for doing any of this. Okay. Saturdays, that's where we all were, and we loved to be there. And we considered this an honor and a great part of our life. All right, Bob Glasser. Bob Glasser, God bless him. He was in his 80s when he was mowing the fields. Okay, over at the park, which on Pan Am was named after him until that was taken down. And Atwater Park became the place. He mowed it. He fixed it. I mean, he even went up on the tree, fell, okay, in his 80s. And guess what, folks? As soon as he could handle the pain, he was back out mowing, back out doing all the yard work and everything else. He was a treasurer. He also was one of the coaches, and the guys that he coached will remember him. You didn't forget it if you were coached by Bob Glasser. He might have been in his 80s, boy, but he knew what he was doing, and he was phenomenal. The fourth one is after Roy and Lorena Daly. Roy Daly was one of the ones that started Little League. He was paralyzed. He's in a wheelchair. At the refreshment stand, you have an elevator going up to the top floor. And let me tell you something, that's because of Roy at Atwater Park. All right. Roy used to actually, over at Bob Glasser Field when it first started, I saw him out of his wheelchair, dragging himself along the ground to line the field the night before the first game. That's the kind of dedication we are talking about. Lorena Daly had cancer. She had cancer of the throat. She had cancer of the leg. She had hysterectomy because of cancer and all this stuff. And you know what she did? All her chemo? She had her chemo appointments around the Little League schedule so they could be there to keep score. All right. Nothing, only death could stop her from going to a Little League game. or a wrestling match, actually. She loved it. She was there. She was our first historian. I learned out so much from her that she did. And so when I see those fields out there, to call them field 1, 2, 3, and 4, oh, I want to wring someone's neck. They should be called Glasser, Metrione, Daly, and Perez Field, because these people deserve to be honored. Okay, next thing on our list here, a tribute to Mike Metrione. And the reason this is here is because of a couple things, because of what he did and because of what he was. His stepson, real son. Okay, Henry Jackamer paid for the entire thing. He came out with lists of names for us to find everyone that was ever involved in Northport. His sister Lois Kozak and I spent months trying to find some of these people. A lot of them were dead by then. But anyway, he wanted to bring everyone out to celebrate and honor Mike Metrione, who at that point had passed away. But he invited over 800, and he is paying for all the food, and he's paying for the tickets. We were down at the Charlotte Sport Park, and he paid for everyone to go to a baseball game. And then he provided, because Henry Jackamer is the guru of fireworks, and then he provided all the fireworks after. And that's the only time it was. Unfortunately, we had a rainstorm like you wouldn't believe, which kind of ruined everything. But on the other hand, there was over 800 people that he invited to be there. It certainly was kind of like a celebration of all of Northport. So it definitely should be mentioned. Okay, August 16, 2011, Port Charlotte Economic Development Corporation was formed. The board of directors was made up of individuals who were Northport residents or had a business in Northport. The advisory board was made up of senior executive of major corporations in our area. Lack of funding kind of ended this group. But on the other hand, it was the pioneer. All right, it was the beginning. We still need to move in this area. We have more and more people moving in this area. But that's the beauty of Northport right now. Folks, we are here, okay? To the south, we have Westport. To the north, we have Welland Park and the Braves Stadium and all. And we can fight over who's going to have their name on there and all. And we will for a long time. But on the other hand, you know, this was beautiful. We are in the middle. We are just ready for development. Look at all the apartments that are going up. Look at all the houses. Look at the permits that have been made out. Northport is the center of so much. And, you know, our economic development boards and all those kind of stuff are going to work like mad. And we've got a lot going on. And you're going to tell me time's up.
Yes, I am. We made it through 2 years.
I thought we'd make it the rest of the way.
No, 2011 and 2012. So we still have a ways to go. However, every year is important. Every one of those moments are important, and that we get it down in history, and to remember the people that were behind a lot of the improvements within the city of Northport. So Joan Morgan, thank you so much for being my host again, co-host with me today.
Thank you for having us because, you know, as I say, as I'm going to beg, as we do at the beginning and end, okay, call 941-875-8996 or email me, emjm67@yahoo.com. Tell me what we're missing. Tell me what's not in here. Tell me what should be down. And let me tell you something, folks, it will be.
Absolutely. And to our audience, thank you for tuning in and actually listening to Joan and myself talk about the history of the city of Northport. To our audience and to the people out there, you are listening to WKDW 97.5 FM, Real Community Radio, coming out of Northport, out of the Bishop West Real Estate Tower. And we could not be a program without you. And we are a 501c3, all volunteer nonprofit in the city of Northport. We are there for you, the people. And we are proud to say that we are a nonprofit. And the passion you talk about, Joan, the radio station has it too. The people
absolutely
and the radio station, they do it out of love. They do it, and even during this program, I do this out of love. And I do it out of the necessity that I think for people to really hear in a first person's voice what has happened in the history of the area. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you everybody for being part of history. And please reach out to Joan. You can reach out to myself, but Joan's the one putting together the timeline. Again, Joan Morgan, 941-875-8996, EMJM67 at yahoo.com. That's the year I graduated from high school, Joan. You got
This year we got married.
Yeah. So thank you, everybody. And remember, there are choices in life to be kind or not to be kind. Please choose kindness. The world would be a much better place if you do just one simple act of kindness a day. Thank you. Have a great day.